I'm Jane Farnham from Great British Speakers, and I'm here today chatting to the lovely mental health and wellness speaker, Sophie Belle. Hello, Sophie. How are you?
Hi, Jane. I'm really well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for agreeing to chat to us. So I'm really interested about today's session and learning more about what you do, because we all have obviously our ups and downs. I'm looking to pick up some top tips, what with being single mum, 3 kids, working full time, there's lots going on. So before we get into the speaking side of things and the mental health subject, just tell us a little bit about your background on life prior to all of this.
Yes, so my journey was definitely very much patient to practitioner. I never saw myself in this kind of therapeutic work because I was in the corporate world. I worked in fast-paced agencies across London and then moved to Asia, where I was traveling all over the place, living a high-pressured, busy expat life. And then I moved back to London and started a business. I thought it would be easier, but that stress and pressure stayed with me. So that was really where I came into doing more mindfulness, and alongside 2 pregnancies, which ended up with 2 young children, but also a lot of anxiety in one of my pregnancies, a lot more work pressure, tricky investor relations. My mother also became very ill with cancer. So I was totally burned out, and I had some issues with my heart early on in my career, which started to come back as well. So I really was living in constant survival mode before I started doing breath work, which was more of a tool before it became my career.
So breath work. Tell me a little bit about that, because I'm always being asked by my clients for key takeaways. So I wanted to find out straight, let's just get stuck into that side of things. So we've obviously experienced stress, burnout in the workplace. How did you then find out about breathwork? That was obviously for your own personal journey, and what results did you see?
So my mum was a yoga teacher, so she was always telling me to do breath work. And I think when it's your parents, you just don't tend to listen. But I got to a point where I was offered medication during one of my second pregnancy, and I really thought, I'm just going to try and make a change first. So she taught me some really simple techniques, and I was astounded at how simple they were to implement and how much they actually impacted me. And I just loved how you didn't have to make time for breath work for it to be effective. And now obviously I do make a lot of time for breath work, because the more you do, the more benefits you can see. You really can. It's cumulative. But when I started reading more about the breath, how to actually breathe properly, over 70% of us don't breathe properly. It really became clear to me that there was such an opportunity to be able to teach more people this incredible, free, constantly accessible tool that, really just with some tiny tweaks, you could start taking, this practice of breath work into your life. And it really has been transformative for me and for everyone that I've worked with.
So I've heard about sort of the Wim Hof method and box breathing. And is there a specific type of breathing that you do, or are there lots of different types that you can do in different circumstances, depending on where you are?
Yes, there are loads of different types. So Wim Hof that's more of a kind of exploratory, I call it therapy without the talking breathwork, where it's more intense. It goes to such a level that you are actually able to release trauma, and that's through completely altering your state of consciousness. But day to day, I focus on teaching breathwork exercises which calm the nervous system down, help you basically come out of survival mode, which is key. So if I just give you one now to take away with you, it's just very simply called the 4-7-8 breath. So you can kind of guess what we have to do. So you breathe in for 4 and you hold for 7, and then you breathe out for 8. So that breath hold is going to build up the carbon dioxide in your blood system, and that activates the vagus nerve, which takes you from fight or flight to rest and repair. And that slow, long exhale does exactly the same thing. So if you even do that 10 times, on the commute, at your desk, in a meeting, then you will really notice a shift in how you're feeling, because ultimately, if we're changing how we're breathing, we really can change how we feel.
Wow. So it's simple as, so in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. And that can
Exactly.
be a state to change your state of mind and make you a bit calmer. And you can take it, even if you don't feel comfortable doing that in front of other people, I suppose it's just something you can do while you're, take yourself off to the toilets and just
Yeah,
breathe. And it's free.
exactly. And even if you are in a meeting, or I mean, this is one that I have to do a lot with my kids, is just slow down the exhale. You don't even need to count, just breathe in and out through the nose, slow down the exhale, and that will really bring you to a much more grounded, calmer place, so that you can then respond rather than react.
Very good point. So is it in through the nose and out through the mouth, or both in and out through the nose?
In and out through the nose. So to breathe properly day to day, you should be breathing in and out through the nose anyway. Some people with breathwork exercise, they do encourage you to breathe out through the mouth, which you can do, because actually physiologically that is quite a good release. But I would say if you're doing a few minutes, just do in and out through the nose, because then you're keeping that balance of carbon dioxide and oxygen in your blood. It's stabilizing that balance.
So this is a great takeaway for big corporate clients, that there are obviously other ways you can manage stress and anxiety.
Mm.
And do you talk about any of those?
Yes. So I think mindfulness in general, just being very present with what you're doing, is a really, is a fantastic way of helping you come out of your head. I think ultimately when people get stressed, they're very much in their head. So it's about coming into your body. But I really think that it's about having fun. So anything that you do that brings you even a pocket of joy and ease, then that is going to really help you to reduce your stress levels. And, even if it's just a tiny bit, it's about finding those little glimmers where you're feeling more positive and you're out of your head, most importantly.
So you might be excused for thinking that a lot of high profile clients, they've got it all sussed, they're successful business people. I hear you've got some high profile coaching clients. How do you help them? Because it seems on the surface, I suppose, that they've got it all sussed.
Yeah. So it's really about helping them manage challenges as those challenges get bigger. So if there's anyone who's ambitious, they're always going to want to get to that next level, and they're going to want to be challenged because they want to grow. So having breathwork as a tool, there are 3 main ways that it can help you. So it's really that restoration. So it helps you to calm the body. That's really where that nervous system regulation comes in. So if you're very busy, if you have a lot of pressure and demands on you, then that's where you're going to feel much calmer, and that will be taken into your day-to-day from doing a session. The next part is the release, and we touched briefly on Wim Hof, and it's about altering your state of consciousness, or just getting into that much more relaxed zone where you can let go and release that tension, and you can work with a practitioner to get even deeper and release trauma. And then also just reconnecting with yourself. So if you can imagine, when you're a really high profile person, you have a lot of people beneath you, have to make very big decisions. Feeling very connected to yourself, your intuition, is actually a real power. You're always going to have those more masculine goals, but being able to center and come back to yourself and think, what do I actually really think, rather than being in a place of making these decisions in panic mode in your head, or from a real place of kind of scattered emotions. If you're feeling really, really highly emotional and you're having to make these decisions, or, work with people, whatever it is, being pulled in many directions, it's really helpful to be able to come back and know how to reset as well. So it's kind of a self-development journey, so that you can grow at the same time as having a really solid set of tools that are always accessible to you.
So it's definitely a great one for teams of people who work in very stressful environments. I can really see how it works. And obviously there's immediate benefits as well, which is fantastic. And I think, I mean, we're both ladies, and we, obviously you talk about female wellness and energy and motherhood and prenatal wellness, etc. But how gender specific are the challenges that you see people face in a work environment?
I think that women tend to be more open about their challenges. And I think that women thrive more when they are connected to that more feminine energy in terms of being open to their emotions and intuition. But feminine energy is really, so relevant to men and women, and particularly as society's changing and being more open and fluid, it's really important for everyone to tap into that side of them. But I think when it does come to women, there's something that being talked about at the moment, which is called the triple shift. So one of my clients, Holly Tucker, I was on her IGTV yesterday and she was talking about it. And it's where women obviously are the mothers of the family traditionally and most of the time. So that's already a factor. They're now working full time and often the breadwinners. On top of that, just the way that it is that they do tend to be the person who is in charge and looking after and managing the household as well, which, I'm sure we can both agree is a big job. It's one of those things you don't understand until you have to do it. And that is a huge amount of pressure. That's a lot of juggling. That's a huge amount of demands. The mental load is it's no wonder that people get lost underneath that mental load. And then they say, I don't know what I do for me. I don't know what makes me laugh. I don't know what brings me joy or what I like doing anymore. So I really do work with people to help bring that out. And actually it's often taking really simple questions, really simple steps to help people find themselves again. And the breath is just such a wonderful way to give them that space to just be human and decompress. And when I see the teams that I work with in businesses, the faces at the end just say it all. There's such a lightness, a freshness. And when they do it regularly as well, they really all say it's so life-changing. It's such a simple thing, which is why I think until you tried it, you almost think, how can this be so life-changing? We all breathe anyway, but it is just incredible, the power of the breath.
I absolutely agree with you. And, here's the difference is whenever anybody ever talks about mindfulness in the past, I've always switched off. I think, I just don't have the time to be mindful. I just don't, my brain's going 10 to the dozen. The great thing about breath work is that it gives you something to focus on and it's practical. So you don't feel like you're just sitting there umming, like, you feel like you're actually doing something. So for people like us who like to be doing something of significance, breathwork helps you have that, because it is still mindfulness, but it's allowing you to focus on the breath, and it's giving you something to distract you while you're healing and while you're being at one with yourself and calming down and de-stressing. I think it's great. I mean, are there telltale signs in the workplace that would indicate people are really struggling?
I would say that if someone is constantly on, so if they're always emailing late, they're always on their phone, they're always, kind of rushing about, I would say that's a sign that they will eventually burn out. It's really not healthy to be doing that consistently. I understand that people go through busy periods and stuff needs to get done, and that's what I completely understand as well. I've worked in those environments. I get that you can't just say you're tired and you want to go to bed sometimes, but it's really finding that balance and trusting, that you're not going to lose that productivity by taking some rest. But you can also just tell a lot by someone's breath. So if they're, going like this a lot and their chest, touching their upper chest, if they do tend to be breathing quite shallowly, I can always tell when I'm talking to my clients, if something's stressing them out, I can see the way that their breath changes. So if you're noticing someone's sighing a lot, someone's needing to gulp a lot of air in, that is a real sign that they're in fight or flight mode.
So when you, let's talk about your actual sessions. If you're working with a team of people, a corporate client who have a team around them and they're trying to help them, would you start off with a talk and then you'd follow up with sort of a session, an actual practical session of breathing, or would you do that one-on-one?
No, so I do a lot of workshops, which are really effective. And what I do is I give a talk with some practical examples and tools. And this is in a bigger scenario if I'm talking to a bigger group of people. And then we'll do a guided breath work. So they get that chance to actually decompress, but they can also experience the different techniques and have a chance to practice, and be accountable to do that. And then in smaller groups, there might be a little bit more feedback. We can talk more specifically about challenges, or I've even been included in away days where it's actually an energizer. It's actually a chance to decompress but recharge. And there's a real focus on, let's slow down for a moment so that we can come back, focus and be productive. So there are a real range of things. And I work with people one-to-one, particularly. I find that a lot of people going back to work after maternity leave, they're in that shift where they're really trying to juggle a lot. So there's a real range, but I would say a great starting point is a workshop where you can teach practical tools. People can actually practice them. And so they have something tangible to take away and start using straight away.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's interactive. It makes it far more engaging. You actually get to experience something, and then you can take that away afterwards and not just use it in your business life, but also your personal life, which tends to be as busy as you and I know. Have you got one particular example where you've really made a difference with this technique?
So I can think of a time where I could see immediate results and everyone couldn't believe the shift that was happening. And it was in a group of about 10, and we did a range of different exercises, but the focus was actually on tapping into their intuition. So taking away all the noise so that they could actually really get a feeling for how they were at the time and what they wanted to do. So we focused on it in a very much a positive way, because I think sometimes, especially when you talk about a gut feeling, it can be a negative thing, but actually using it as a way to empower them to get clarity, inspiration. And it was a group who were all entrepreneurs. So they really were excited about getting back to their work that day, coming up with ideas, being creative. And I could just see it in all of their faces, and everyone just wanted to stay and talk about their experience. So that's something that was a really, really special workshop.
It's just an amazing opportunity to pause and refocus your energies and to just think about what you're trying to achieve. I just think it's baby steps along the way. But finally, I know we've been chatting for a while, Sophie. What gives you the biggest buzz about wellness and speaking in general?
I think it's just making the instant difference to people, because I know how stressful life can be, and I know how hard it can be to juggle, and giving people that space to actually not feel alone in that, and for them to be able to experience that at the same time within a team is really special. And then to give them something, even if it's one thing, I know that all of them make a difference. So if they can just take away one, I know that that's going to impact them in such a positive way and help them feel much more in control of how they're feeling, and give them hope, really, that they can feel better.
That's such a lovely message, lovely takeaway. And just remind me, in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. And how many times would you do that to change your perspective and to ground yourself?
I think just do it 10 times and you'll notice a difference. Or if you don't want to count, you can set a timer for 3 minutes. And it's scientifically proven that just doing 3 minutes a day of conscious breathing makes a positive impact on your health, in particular your heart rate variability, which is one of the key measures of health.
I love it. I before I go, I've just got one question because I'm really curious. How do people breathe incorrectly?
So they tend to breathe in and out through the mouth, and that means that they're breathing up in their chest, and then they'll hunch their shoulders. So their whole breath is focused on that top part of their respiratory system, and they really need to get it into the bottom of their respiratory system. Because also when you're breathing through the mouth, you're breathing in too much air. So the body it's almost like you're eating too much food. You can't, the body has to do something with it, and it can fatigue you. So that's why it's so important to learn. There are such simple steps, and you guys have a video now where you can learn to breathe properly. So it's really easy tweaks to make.
Well, you can look out for that on the website. Sophie, thank you so much. I've learned so much, and I'm going to be utilising those tips day to day from here on in. But thank you for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing how you find the tips as well.
Yes, you will do. Well, if you'd like to book or find out more about Sophie, then contact myself or Steve at Great British Speakers on 01753 439 289, or you can email bookings@greatbritishtalent.com.